What's up, guys? Robert here. Just looking at what's happening online here. Are you guys paying attention to what's going on? Is everybody watching what's happening in the conservative Republican movement? And I would say even the Christian world as well. I even think it's happening right now in the Christian world. It's a big separation. It's a big division. It's people are obviously vocalizing what their internal intent really is coming out. The reality of who and what people are really looking at and what they perceive to be truth is manifesting. This is a manifest moment. It's happening. The Republicans are destroying the base of Trump, and Trump is endorsing the destruction. He's actually saying it's a good thing because they are censoring everybody that disagrees on Twitter right now and deleting accounts. On top of that, deleting accounts, and and they would say it's the far right that's taking the brunt, but it's really the MAGA base. And that would include a lot of Christians who are becoming disillusioned at what they see happening. It doesn't make sense. Well, we tried to tell everybody. We tried to give everybody a heads up for the last, 4 years? Everybody was saying we were crazy. And that and literally this is going to fast track. Elon and Trump team here are fast tracking everything. You thought 2020 was bad? Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Oh, no, 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 no. The Democrats at least were slow in their destruction of what they're doing. This is going to fast track it. And someone would say, well, this is actually repairing the damage. We're actually bringing it back. No, this is a transition into a new golden age, which is highly occultic and very much on the controlling surveillance, taking away free speech, implementing fast tracking technology, and however that technology happens to be being looked at. I mean, just look at Elon. Remember I told you guys that Elon has a side to him. People were saying he's got a demon mode. His girlfriend said that he has a demon mode. You don't want to be accessing that demon mode. She called it a demon mode. And I think we saw a little bit of that demon mode today when he went out and started basically saying he's going to go to war with the far right, right? He's going to go to war with the oh my gosh, it sounded so evil too. And that's you who are conservative. He's talking to you, and Trump is endorsing it. And see, all the Christians don't get it. They don't get it. They're riding this beast and they don't get it. The war is coming to you. Now, it's going to affect the whole of the country and the world, for that matter. I think that it's going to literally, the country itself, economically, spiritually, is obviously in the process of being snuffed out. And the Lord is the one behind it too. The Lord allows the enemy to do these things. This is not being done without God's approval. God is just standing back and letting the enemy have his way. And these powers and principalities are being unleashed upon America because America has sinned grievously. And this is what happens when you sin grievously. The enemy has free reign to wreak havoc over your civilization, your country, your person. You become possessed, right? There's nothing you can do at that point. You have no free will. You've been given over. And this is what's happening to America right now. Now, how is that going to manifest? Now, for me and you who are true believers that truly trust in the Lord, that truly depend on God's direction and leading and protection and guidance in the midst of this, well, we stand in a protection mode that God still has to some degree in the midst of this judgment that's going to be falling on, and it's already happening, but it's going to get much worse, much worse. What we see coming, and you can see some of the posts that we're already putting out there about what we can expect on all fronts. There's many different fronts too. It's not just one thing. It's going to be a multitude of things happening all at once. Now, if you wanted to hear and see what that demon mode was, Elon's demon mode, I'll just show you what he said. Very graphic, very, very. Oh, and Benjamin is just absolutely crazy. Here, let me post what Elon said here. Describe Elon in one word: demonic. Somebody said demonic. A look back in the weird 2024 has been from the start to the finish. What the heck is this? Um. All right, what was I looking for? I'm I'm just looking at all this craziness going online here. This craft just crashed in New Jersey. What in the world, AI? But what if? What in the world is this? Oh. Oh. All right. So, all right, I have to stay focused here. Okay, so Elon, let's get back to Elon here. My feed is just so absolutely crazy right now. And Elon is trending right now. Elon is trending. Let's look and see what he's top trending right now. Let's see if he Elon says America rose to greatness over the past 50 years because it was a meritocracy more than anywhere else on earth. I will fight to my last drop of blood to ensure that it remains that land of freedom and opportunity. Okay, so yeah, but that wasn't what he said. What he said was that people just totally, completely are losing it right now. Let's see, I have to go through all of his posts here. He's posted a lot here. Wow. Not a single American port ranks in the top 50 worldwide. How is that possible? One reason is that other countries welcome automation. American labor unions ban it. Yep, that's true. It's something crazy when you see this automation going on in other countries and we're still using labor. But see, that's what happens. You try to protect the labor and you don't go along with the technology, and then you get left behind. Economically, that affects your economics. And you're standing in the world, and then your dollar crashes. Uh-oh. Dollar's going to crash, but Bitcoin is going to save us. We've got a president that's a Bitcoin president. He's going to control all of the assets in the crypto world, and its capital will be here in the United States. Oh my gosh! Anyone, any race, any creation who came. Okay, so he's looking at. Let's see. Oh my gosh, he's posting stuff about studying engineering, it's like magic. And he shows this witch. Here, let me show you guys. Let's go ahead and just look at this. See, Elon, there's something about Elon. Alex Jones said it right before he turned and started worshiping at the altar of Trump and Elon again. Alex Jones said before he became a worshiper of his own destiny, because he believes that Elon and Trump hold his destiny in their hands. He had said that Elon and Trump were dark energy. He said they were dark energy, and if anybody could become the Antichrist, he speculated. He didn't say that Trump was. He just speculated that it was a possibility because of their dark energy. This was before they gave him and by the way, Trump doesn't honor his word. You guys know that, right? I mean, his commitments to the base have now gone out the window. Laura Loomer, what happened to Laura Loomer? Oh, she got thrown under the bus. Alex Jones, do you think Trump's going to stand by? Well, there might be something there because of his network. Maybe they're going to buy it right out from underneath him, and they're going to try to use him as a figurehead and just, give him immunity as long as he goes along with their buyout and plays along so that everybody follows the controlled opposition, right? And even Alex had stated that he might have unknowingly been controlled opposition. This was when he was still disgruntled with Trump. Now that he's back on board with Trump and Elon, he's now kind of like knowingly being controlled opposition because he's trying to save himself. He's trying to save his network, everything that he built, right? He wants to save it, and he said, I have a vested interest that Trump wins. This was after he did the flip. That's after Elon invited him back onto X, which was a lot of money. That's like giving somebody millions of dollars by inviting them back onto a platform like X when you have, 3 or 4 million subscribers? I think Alex had like 3 or 4. And then Trump promising, or not promising, but making a statement through his son that there might be a possibility of a job for Alex Jones in the new Trump administration. What job would that be? Oh, press secretary, because he's so good at doing press. You really think Trump's going to do that? You really think Trump's going to make him press secretary and be nice to Alex after all that he did? Trump remembers. Trump has a memory, and he remembers what Alex did, and he's going to turn on Alex too. He's going to throw Alex under the bus. He's going to throw a lot of people under the bus, as he has done all throughout his career. If you haven't really noticed or studied the way he handles things. And his philosophy of vengeance. He has a philosophy of vengeance. And vengeance is definitely multiplied when in return from himself. He carries a very deep-seated need to prove to the world that you don't cross him. Loyalty is of utmost importance. And if you don't grovel before him, so that he can use you however he wants, and you actually stand up to him, that's the end of you. That's the end of you. Okay? So even when you grovel, you'll just be used and then thrown out. Maybe not as harshly. Maybe you won't be put to death. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to go with that. But I'm going to tell you what, people do not realize where this is going. I can assure you on that. So here it is. Here's a post from Elon. Let me just pull this up here. So he posts this magic in connection to technology. See, I told you, if you go back to the Bible and it talks about the artisans and the craftsmen, you go back to the Masonic messaging that's embedded within masonry, the architects, the builders, they're literally crafting a future through the occult, okay? And they call that Freemasonry. Well, if you go back to the original language in the Greek, in the book of Revelation, you'll see where it talks about the artisans and those who were craftsmen. They were makers of idols, right? They were makers of the idols. The idol trade was very big. Idols were very, very important in the old world. So craftsmen were defined as engineer, or how do they? In the Greek, it's spelled Engine. It's the foundation. The word I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I get the wrong word. It's techne. Techne. It's the foundation for the word technology. It's TECHE, I think, or TAECHNE, one of the two. And it is the actual, and this is the word that is used in the book of Revelation for those who craft idols. Techne. Foundation, root word, go to the etymology of the word technology. That's it. That's the word. So you have technology as a foundation for those who practice the worship of demonic powers and idols. Just look at Jack Parsons, the brains behind NASA, in the origins of NASA itself, high-level occultist, of the best friend of Aleister Crowley. They were on a very deep level producing portals. Hello. They were trying to produce a portal, which they say they succeeded at, to draw in a demonic entity from the other side to manifest in the present world physically. That was what the whole book of Moonchild was about. And I talked to you guys about Moonchild. If you go to our Patreon account and you actually support what we're doing, you can go back and look at that message that I gave to the patrons about the Moonchild portal and how that coincides with Trump. Actually happened right near his birthday, right at the time of his birthday. And at the time of Trump's birth, and this has to do with Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons and Ron L. Hubbard. Ron L. Hubbard was the one who ultimately founded Scientology. And you know how influential Scientology is over all of Hollywood, right? Okay, so there's something there about technology and the powers of darkness. The book of Enoch talks about this. These watchers, the fallen ones, give humanity different technologies. They reveal to them this hidden technology to help humanity and bring about a covenant with them, right? And so what was Jack Parsons doing? Well, he was entering into the occult, gaining information and technology from the powers of darkness, and it was all about rocket technology. Aleister Crowley, hello. I mean, you can go back and read all the writings of Jack Parsons and in his relationship with Ron L. Hubbard and his conversations with Aleister Crowley. Now, when they birthed the Moonchild, this was their sex magic, they believed that they opened a portal for the birth of what they believed to be, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was the, they called it something. I think it was the birth of, let me see. I'm trying to remember now what that was. The birth of, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if they called it the Antichrist. Oh no, the Whore of Babylon, they were bringing forth what they called the Babylonian. They believed they were bringing forth a Babylonian ruler. I think. Let me see. Let me go back and look at this really quick. Moonchild, Aleister. Okay. EIS. Aleister Crowley, and that was Babylon. Okay. Okay, so, and by the way, Ron L. Hubbard was a huge writer of science fiction, by the way. A lot of science fiction stuff that he wrote. Okay, so The Moonchild novel was written by Aleister Crowley, but they actually did have an occult belief that they were trying to open a portal for the manifestation of a Babylonian god or something to that effect. Let me see. The prophecies speak of a moonchild that will combine with a mighty warrior to bring peace. This was the prophecy of the moonchild. And this woman that they were supposedly doing this with what they called sex magic, but to open this portal, they had to do this ritual that would bring forth a moon. And by the way, they did, I believe that they did it on the actual day of Trump's birthday. That was the actual letter, and the date was on his birthday, 1946. It was June 14th, and we've got the letters and everything. You can go back into the archives of Aleister Crowley's letters and Jack Parsons. And there was another person that was corresponding with Aleister Crowley, and he talked about Ron L. Hubbard and Jack Parsons having done and actually saying that they had accomplished the birth of the moonchild. This is what they said. And it happened on the date. You can see the date. Also, on that day, there was a total lunar eclipse on the birth of Trump. What do you think about that? Huh? Isn't that weird? Oh, yeah. Let's see here. Well, that's pretty crazy. Hold on one second here. Let me just see if I can find something here. Okay, Babylon is a goddess found in the occult system of Thelema, which was established in 1904 with the writing of the Book of the Law by English English and author occultist Aleister Crowley. Spelling of the name as Babylon was revealed to Crowley in the vision and the voice. Her name and imagery feature prominently in Crowley's. Okay, so basically, yeah. Let's see. The Whore of Babylon is referred to in several places in the Book of Revelation, a book which may have had an influence on Thelema. As Aleister Crowley says, he read it as a child and imagined himself as the beast. She is described in chapters 17, verses 3 through 6. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and the fullness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was written a name, Mystery Babylon the Great, the Great, the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Wow. Aleister Crowley recorded in his view of the Book of Revelation and the vision and the voice, he said, all I get is that the apocalypse was the recension of a dozen or so totally disconnected allegories that were pieced together and ruthlessly planed down to make them into a connected account. And that recension was rewritten and edited in the interests of Christianity because people were complaining that Christianity could show no true spiritual knowledge or any food for the best minds, nothing but miracles which only deceived the most ignorant, and theology which only suited pedants, which means a person who is excessively concerned with minor details and rules. Okay. So he was trying to. So basically, let's see. Babylon is also mentioned in the Gnostic Creed, and I believe in one earth, the mother of us all, and in one womb, wherein all men are begotten, and wherein they shall rest. The mystery of mystery, her name Babylon. That's in the Gnostic Creed, within the Gnostic Mass. Here, Babylon is identified with Binah on the Tree of Life, the sphere that represents the Great Sea, and such mother goddess as Isis, Mahavani, and Mat. Moreover, she represents all physical mothers, Bishop T. Aperion, and Helena, that's probably Blasphemy, says that Babylon, as the great mother, represents matter, a word which is derived from the Latin word for mother. She is the physical mother of each of us, the one who provided us with material flesh to clothe our naked spirits. She is the archetypal mother, the great Yoni, the womb of all that lives through the flowing of blood. She is the great sea, the divine blood itself, which cloaks the world and which courses through our veins, and she is Mother Earth, the womb of all life that we know. Isn't that crazy? So anyways, that's what they're saying. They were bringing forth a Babylonian ruler, I think it was. I haven't found it here yet, but let's see. Bring forth. Now, if you go back and you look at that broadcast that I did where I showed all the screenshots, I go into the great detail of the history of Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, the connections to the birth of Trump, and how it all lines up. You might find that to be very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Let's see. This one says here that okay, so it says here, ever since rereading The Secret History of Twin Peaks, and especially after the Mr. C. Richard dynamic we see in the latest episode, one part stuck with me. Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard's attempts to summon an entity called the Moonchild, described as essentially an Antichrist, and referenced by Aleister Crowley's book by the same name. What gets interesting is when I further research the idea of a Moonchild. Crowley's book depicts the struggle between a white and black lodge of magicians. Now remember this, the white hats, the black hats, remember that. This is talking about a struggle between the white and the black lodge of magicians for control over an unborn child, manifested inside a young woman who was impregnated with a spiritual force. Regarding reading further into the concept, the ritual is described as being done to provide an earthly vessel for Babylon, the mother of abominations, whom we now know so terrifyingly well. I began to wonder who in Twin Peaks could be a Moonchild, certainly someone whose mother intercoursed with an entity like B.O.B., I guess, and settled on our dear Antichrist, Astique Richard Horn. Okay, so he's talking about something that's kind of something else here, but it says, let's read them more here. It says, and it's further supported by a key detail described in Crowley's Moonchild rituals. The mother must be impregnated during total spiritual seclusion, like in a coma, perchance. But we know Richard isn't inhabited by Babylon, leading me to suggest that the ritual failed as Richard was born male. And mother had to choose an imperfect vessel in Sarah, at least for now. This means that the mother's goal in our world is to produce, and Bob is her go-to pollinator. Let's see here. I wonder if there is a name for this Moonchild that was supposedly born. Moonchild name. Jack Parsons Hubbard. Let's see if there's actually a name. They call him the magical father of American rocketry. The child of the moon. Okay, so this says, on one hand, with his research on the propulsion system of space rockets, he made a fundamental contribution to the space race. On the other hand, thanks to his esoteric knowledge, in the meeting with Aleister Crowley, he devoted himself to occult practices such as the infamous Operation Babylon, quote unquote. We present Jack Parsons, the mad scientist who used to sing the hymn to Pan just before his missile tests. You know, this reminds me of Elon totally. This totally reminds me of Elon. It goes on to say, in the late afternoon of June 17th, 1952, a roar shook the city of Pasadena. A violent explosion devastated an old warehouse, converted into a chemical laboratory at 1071 South Orange Grove. The rescuers are faced with a devastation worthy of a theater of war. The mutilated and disfigured body of a man, Tutovia still conscious, he lies on the floor of the building. That man is John Whiteside Parsons. The man is rushed to the hospital, but his death occurs shortly thereafter. Parsons was a well-known personality in Pasadena. The day after Los Angeles Times headlines, quote, missile scientist killed in Pasadena blast. Although he was not a real scientist, Parsons had in fact worked on rockets during the Second World War. He and his team of experts had come up with innovations that proved decisive for the victory in the conflict. Innovations that in a few years would have laid the foundations for the conquest of space. Parsons' death would have been remembered as a serious and untimely loss to the aerospace industry were it not for the fact that in the following days, the newspapers appeared to paint a disturbing and unexpected portrait of the young scientist. The newspapers began to publish rumors and gossip that had been circulating for years about Parsons, about his libertine lifestyle, but above all, about his interest in black magic and his links to the Church of Thelema with its founder, Aleister Crowley. Parsons' death soon became material for tabloids, and that was enough for puritanical and paranoid America of the time to reduce his contribution to rocket science to a footnote. The Damnatio Memoriae, it can be explained in part by Parsons. I don't know what that means. can be explained by Parsons' heterodox interests that he really made magic one of his fields of interest and research. It still seems inconceivable to many that the paths of the science of space flight and ceremonial magic have crossed in his person. It doesn't make any it doesn't seem inconceivable to me, because I think that's exactly what Elon is all about. I don't know if you saw his hat. It said dark MAGA, dark. It said dark. What's the term for? I forget what they called it. It's not emo. It's not emo. What do they call it when they dress in black and they kind of have that? Shoot, I forgot what it was called. Anyway, he called it dark MAGA, right? He said somebody said so. I forgot the word he used, but to me, what Elon is all about, and if you look at his relationship with his previous girlfriend and some of the things that they wrote, they even wrote these cryptic prophecies. His girlfriend predicted in detail through these cryptic hieroglyphic prophecies that she posted on, I think it was on her Twitter page. She basically gave the chronological order of events that were to follow. And many people looked at these cryptic, and they were hieroglyphic emojis, okay? And she put them in order, and they all kind of basically came to pass. People have been really kind of looking at that as being kind of weird, right? And it all had to do with what happened in 2020, et cetera. And it goes way back. And she's some kind of singer, I guess. She does songs and stuff. But she had this one song a year or two before 2020 happened, with the juice and the China sneeze. And she had her dancers dancing around, and she's really occultic too. When you look at her music, it's highly occultic in nature. They were dancing around in masks, like PPE, in preparation for some kind of, event. But that's also what was in her hieroglyphic prophecy. So, Elon has been steeped, I believe, in occult, philosophy just by looking at his girlfriend. I forget what they call it though. I was going to say emo, but it's not emo. It's something else. It's like emo. Anybody know what I'm talking about here? Gothic. That's the word. That's the word. Thank you. I had to look at my thing here. He basically said Gothic, dark Gothic MAGA. And what is Gothic? Like really, what is Gothic? Isn't Gothic like demonic? When you really think about what Gothic is, the definition of Gothic. Belonging to the Dark Ages, portentously gloomy or horrifying, right? Portentously, which portends or looks to the future, right? Portentously, I think portentously means looking to the future, right? Let's see if that's right. It can also mean important as a sign or a warning of something unpleasant that is going to happen in the future, right? So he's basically what Gothic means. It's a prediction of gloomy, horrifying events that are to come, and usually they dress really dark and very thick, dark makeup, dark clothing. It's also lettering, like, the Gothic lettering. It looks all kind of, you know, spooky and, demonic looking, kind of, however you would define demonic looking lettering. But you would say it's like vampire-ish. It kind of gives me that sense of being like a vampire, right? And so his girlfriend is Gothic, and I think he's still with her. Grimes, they're totally completely in the Gothic realm of whatever that is. Gothic architecture has to do with like gargoyles, gargoyle type stuff. But anyways, so this Moonchild thing, it says, by revisiting his exceptional biographical story, one can realize how not only for Parsons these two interests were not in conflict, but were even complementary. Parsons was only the latest in a long line of men of science for whom both magic and science involved both studying the secret laws that govern our universe and bending these same laws to one's will. Parsons took this insight to the extreme by searching for both, or for searching with both the science and the magic to impart a new direction to the history of humanity. So I guess he blew himself up doing something. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but he did. He definitely killed himself. It goes on to say, let's see if I can find that part about. This is interesting. Since childhood, Jack Parsons had manifested an inexhaustible intellectual curiosity, a characteristic that distinguished him even in his adulthood. His interests were not limited to rocket science alone. Around 1938, Parsons began to take an interest in the writings of Karl Marx and to the socialist cause, and began to gravitate towards a study group that brought together many Caltech students, including Frank Molina. Parsons later joined the American Civil Liberties Union, an organization that was viewed with suspicion at the time. It says here that he was torn between his conventional research and what we could define as heretical. Surely this fragment makes us understand that in 1942, Parsons' involvement in the study of magic was by now known, and that the person concerned made no secret of it. Parsons' encounter with magic, and specifically the magic by Aleister Crowley, occurred in 1939 and was one of the most important events in his life. And it talks about different occult groups that he was in. Let's see. This is a very long biography of him. Okay, here. I'll let you see this really quick here. This is interesting. This is Aleister Crowley right here. But it says in World War II, in the years leading up to the Second World War, the attitude toward rockets and missiles began to change by exploiting the fact that the Treaty of Versailles did not explicitly prohibit rockets. The Nazi regime in Germany had enlisted most of the members of the amateur missile groups to put them to work on possible war applications. It is from this program that they will arise the fearsome V2 rockets. That's Vernon von Braun, right? Now, he was recruited into NASA program after the war. He was brought over to the United States and also helped NASA with their rocketry and conquering of what they say is space. In America, the military interest in rockets manifested itself in 1939 when the Air Corps General Henry Arnold turned to his scientist friend Theodore. Okay, so this just talks a little bit about the history of the U.S., and then it goes on to say, let's see here. Let's see. He also had a voluminous correspondence with Crowley, which he showed me. I particularly remember a letter from Crowley praising and encouraging him for the work he was doing in America and thanking him for his recent donation and suggesting that more would be needed soon. Jack admitted, which was a major source of money for Crowley in America. So he was a tither to Aleister Crowley. Isn't that amazing? Okay, even without any crime report, the FBI compiled a dossier of over 200 pages on Parsons and his cult of love. In the workplace, Jack was characterized by bizarre behaviors, such as singing Crowley's pan hymn before the rockets departed. Putting more and more on the sidelines in December of 1944, Parsons sold his Aerojet shares, detached himself and increasingly from the jet propulsion laboratory environment. The same fate that the remaining members of the Suicide Squad soon followed. Thanks to the proceeds from the operation, Parsons was able to devote himself full-time to his magical research at the parsonage. Suicide cult. What? Is that what that was? Okay, here we go. This might be where we're looking at here. This is where he meets Hubbard. In the aftermath of the war, a character destined to disrupt Jack Parsons' life settled at Parsonage. His name was Ron L. Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard. At the time, it was not yet. At the time, he was not the controversial founder of Scientology, but only an acclaimed short story writer for pulp magazines. Hubbard was known for his skill as a storyteller, that he did not use only in print. In fact, that not only that he did not use only in print. In fact, during the common meals at the parsonage, he entertained the diners with very fictional, if not completely invented tales of his war exploits and his explorations around the world. Parsons was fascinated by the newcomer and saw him as a valuable helper in his magical quest. And let's see if we can find the Moonchild thing here. What is this? Okay, here we go. So it says, Okay, so here's the account. So it goes on to say here, in 1946, Parsons writes, I decided to carry out a magical operation designed to get the help of an elemental companion. Parsons enlisted the help of Hubbard in the role of a scribe to enact a long ritual that drew from the Enochian magic, Enochian, I should say, Enochian magic, right? Enoch. And that harkens back to the Watchers, I guess. the magical system conceived by Queen Elizabeth's astrologer John Dee. Although Hubbard was assigned the task of transcribing any supernatural communications, he soon began to behave like a medium of sorts, frequently calling or falling into a trance. In those days of feverish work, Parsons wrote down in great detail all the complex passages of the ritual in a diary. The January 18th, after 2 weeks of continuous work, Parsons and Hubbard headed for the Mojave Desert, where Parsons had a sudden epiphany. A sudden epiphany, eh? That sounds kind of like Obama. Remember when he was running for president? He got up and he was saying, I always remember this because it was such an amazing quote to me. It was like so occultic. He says, he said, a light's going to shine down upon you from somewhere. He said, from somewhere. You're going to have an epiphany. And you're going to say to yourself, I have to vote for Barack. Sounds totally like brainwashing magic or something, you know, and he's literally up there on stage talking about how you're going to have an epiphany. You're going to see a light. It's going to shine down upon you from somewhere. Not sure where, but it's going to shine down from somewhere. And then you're going to have this epiphany, this revelation of some manifestation of a God is going to come to you, and it's going to speak in your head. I have to vote for Barack. Anyways, so he goes on to say, he has this epiphany, right? I turned to him. This is Parsons. I turned to him and said, it's done. I felt the absolute certainty that the operation had been completed. I went home and there I found a young woman who matched the parameters. She was waiting for me. The woman was called Marjorie Cameron, a young artist whose arrival at the parsonage coincided with the return of Parsons and Hubbard. Marjorie became Parsons' partner and later his second wife for the magical operation he was preparing, known as Operation Babylon. Babylon working. His purpose was to embody the female deity Babylon in a little girl. Parsons writes that the choice to undertake this unprecedented magical operation is due to the fact that the present age is under the influence of a force called, in magical terminology, Horus. It is connected to fire, Mars, and the sun. That is to power, violence, and energy. It is also conceptually linked to the child and his innocence, ergo undifferentiation. Its manifestations can be seen in the destruction of old ideas and institutions, in the discovery and liberation of new energies, as well as the trend towards the establishment of brutal governments, war, homosexuality, infantilism, and schizophrenia. The force is completely blind. It depends on the men and women in whom it manifests itself and who guide it. As is clear, they have so far guided it towards catastrophe. The successful outcome of the operation can save humanity from this fate because this impasse is broken by the incarnation of a force of a different kind called Babylon. The nature of this force is related to the Dionysian love, understanding, and freedom, and is necessary to counterbalance or match the manifestation of Horus. So it's like a yin and a yang thing, right? The creation of this magical sun, or as Crowley would have called him, a moon child, a child of the moon, it had to take place through another long and complex ritual that included acts of sexual magic. At the height of the operation, during another stay in the Mojave Desert, Parsons heard a disembodied voice dictating a text called Free 49, which contained the last parts of the ritual. I guess that was the woman. It goes on and says, having performed the rites, Parson considered after 2 whole months the operation completed. According to his first impressions, the operation had been a success. There are indications that this force is actually embodied in a living woman. According to Jack, Babylon was incarnated in who knows who. From this moment, he had somewhere in the world a magical daughter who would manifest herself at the right moment to open a new era. Okay, so anyways, I thought that this was interesting. I'm just kind of looking at this. Oath of the Abyss. That's really weird. This is pretty in depth. I should probably really get into this and look at this. That's what Ron L. Hubbard looked like. Parsons will never have the opportunity to meet his magical daughter. He will die in the explosion of his laboratory in June of 1952. Huh. Look at that, Jack Parsons, the Book of the Antichrist and Other Writings. I guess he has another book called the Book of the Antichrist. So, anyways, I think that what they were trying to really bring about was that birthing of what they said was the beast kingdom that would be manifest through some kind of power that would be coming forth in the world. And I'm going to have to look more into that. I think it's kind of interesting in light of the fact that those letters were dated on the very same day that there was a complete blood moon, which was a lunar eclipse, happened to be on the same day, too, as Trump's birthday, which I find to be very interesting. You know, when they said that Trump got elected on the very day that he was inaugurated, it was 70 years, 70 days, or 70 years, 7 weeks, and 7 days, right? It was a 777 thing. And there was a lot of other weird kind of coinciding events that people had looked to numerology, numerically, I should say, that really is interesting. You know, the occult looks big time into numerology. And so when you look at those like coinciding messages, you got to kind of wonder, like, what is it really meaning here? There's so much more that's involved in all this. It's pretty crazy to think about. But Elon's statements, so you got this magic thing going on here, but look at what he said. Let's see if he still has it up. Maybe he took it down. He said something terrible. Let's see if I can find it here. This was yesterday that he posts so much stuff, I'm telling you. Yeah, I think he was telling people that you could ban certain words that you don't see on X because he had used some very foul language, and people were probably complaining to him. I heard that there's a lot of people that are coming against Elon right now because of what he said and what he did and how he banned people for just having a difference of opinion about politically what's going on. But the way he said it was so very violent. I mean, look at what he said here. Let's see if I can get this really quickly here. He posts so much stuff here. Gosh, it's like where in the world is this? If he wouldn't post so much stuff, I'd have found it already. What? Okay. Okay, we're getting close here. I'm getting closer here. I know because I saw that post earlier. Okay, here we go. We're getting close. Okay, so unless he took it down. The unforgivable sin. What the heck happened? Oh, that's hilarious. He's like a rocket. Um, okay, so where is this post? He must have taken it down. Okay, so let's look on my page here. This is what he said. And I won't even repeat what he said because it's so graphic, but you can read it. You can read it for yourself. Let's just post it here so you can see it. Oh, you know what? Did they even post it? I don't even think we posted it. It was so graphic. I have to just show you on a different page here. Oh no, here it is. Okay, so look at what he posted. Tell me this isn't like just downright, you know, like violent in nature. I mean, is this his demon mode? I mean, people said, and this is not just his girlfriend that said this. This is other people that work for him that said the same thing. That he has like a demon mode where he turns very, very dark. Very, very dark. And they say you don't want to be anywhere near him when he's in this mode. So he says, take a step back and look at the way he says this. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend. And this is over just one, conflict that people have with immigration, right? The far right really wants to limit immigration to a certain level, and they are trying to stop people from disagreeing with their incoming policies, this H-1-B, right? And I guess that helps people to immigrate on a different level. I don't know. I don't even know what it's talking about there, what kind of immigration they're talking about. I know we've always had legal immigration, but I don't see any problems with immigration that's legal. But I guess people on the right are looking at this in a different way, and people got banned all over X for this. A whole bunch of large accounts got banned. And then a lot of them got demonetized on top of that. And people are all up in arms about what's going on here. So there's this conflict going on within the Republican Party right now because people don't trust, and they're seeing the fact that they're kind of alienating their base to some degree. This didn't need to be manifest in this way. If he had a disagreement, he could have just said, hey, I don't agree with you. But why go on a tirade and why ban everybody? You're talking about banning people, censoring them. This is hearkening back to 2020 when Trump first came into office, or I'm sorry, 2017. 2016, 17, when Trump won and came into office, 2017 was the beginning of censorship. It was a censorship like you couldn't even imagine. I personally was affected by it, so I know. I had like 500,000 or more subscribers on YouTube. That was at the time we were getting like 1 million views a day, and we were streaming live things every day, every day, every day, every major news event. Mainstream media even contacted us because they were like, "How come you're always at the top of the feeds? We want to do a story on quick response YouTube channels because your channel always seems to be up there at the top." We were even more visible. We were more visible even at certain points than RSBN at the time. And so when we started getting censored, I started noticing the effects on our AdSense. The AdSense were being affected. They were shutting it off and then turning it back on. At that time, you could calculate what was happening in your AdSense account in real time. You could see it in real time. They all of a sudden would shut it off. It wouldn't turn back on for a day or two. Then they would turn it back on. And I started, that was really weird. And then I started noticing that they were, censoring certain things. And then I started thinking, wow, that's strange. Then I get contacted by mainstream media, and I'll say it was either Washington Post or New York Post, one of the two. We vetted it, made sure that it was legit. It was a real reporter wanting to do an interview. We didn't respond. We blew them off because we didn't want to even have any conversation with mainstream at that time. We were like, well, who wants to talk to mainstream, right? They're probably going to do a hit piece or something. Who knows? I don't know what they're wanting to do. So ignored them. But that week, within a week, all 3 of our channels were taken off YouTube without any notice, without any reason. They don't have to give you a reason either, by the way. They could just say, "Oh, you just violated some policy that we just don't understand. We're not going to tell you what it is. You just have to figure it out." But if you're a person that has means and you've got lawyers and you might have been able to fight it, you might have been able to get your accounts back, but most people can't do that. And so with this type of censorship, people are really up in arms about why it came about just with disagreement. Why would they censor for just disagreeing, right? So this is very, very troubling. You're talking about a government person here. Elon is now a government person. And they're going to start censoring you for disagreeing. Or what else are they going to do? I mean, literally, when you have a person like this saying this, I think he probably took this down. I would really like to get the link on that. Let me just write this out and see if I can find it here. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay, so is this the one? Yeah, so he still has it up. Okay, so here it is. So I did a search on it and I found it. So there you go. That's Musk's post. It has 11 million views, but it did. Let's see if he edited it. Yeah, he's going to go to war with anybody who disagrees with him and the government. So you're going to have censorship like you wouldn't believe, especially now that X is going to become the everything app, and they're going to literally migrate everything into X, whether it's your bill pay, your ID, your bank accounts, All these technologies, it's going to be like the Everything app in China, where it'll probably start off with your phone and your QR code having connected to the Everything app. And you're going to have to do everything through X. Everything's going to go through X. So this is what it's going to become. You're looking at the beginnings of a beast system that you're going to have to bow to. You're going to have to go along with, or you're going to get that little red mark. Your social credit score that China has, rolled out as of 2020. If you're doing something that the government doesn't like, your social credit score turns from green to yellow, and they give you warnings, whatever, to try to get it back. You gotta somehow go along with what they want in every way. It has nothing to do with your credit score. It has nothing to do with your business practices. It has nothing to do with your morals. If you're not, or saying something contrary to what government deems to be good citizen, then you get a demerit. You get put in detention. You get a yellow mark, which is a caution. You're getting close to going into the red zone, which could actually put you in prison. Okay, they could just take you out. So yellow means you can't travel where you want to go. You can't have special privileges. They're going to cut you off in terms of your ability to get money out of your account, or how much you can get out, or where you can go, because everything is tracked, traced, and everything has, through that app, it's going to be recognized as, oh, well, you've got a yellow mark here. You're not allowed to go 5 miles past this area. Okay, you have to stay in that 5-mile zone. You're not allowed to buy this type of thing here today. You're only allowed to spend this much money because you're a bad citizen. It says here that you've got the yellow mark. Okay. If you make a big deal about it, you do something, you speak out, you start trying to get your credibility back, or who knows, whatever. You're saying something that makes the government not like what you're doing. Oh, now you're going to get a red mark. Now that red mark is even worse, because they could probably pick you up, put you in jail, or who knows whatever else. Maybe they'll solder your windows shut and your doors like they did back during the 2020 thing in China. I don't know if you remember those videos where they were just basically, welding people into their homes, into their apartments where they couldn't get out. People are like, help, let me out. You see them out there welding, putting these big, you go driving down the street in China, and they've got all of these huge, they were putting them on every single door, like basically locking them shut with these big anchor bars, and welding all the windows shut so that you couldn't get out. Is that going to be the fate for those who speak out or are contrary or stand their ground on their moral beliefs? Or, maybe there's going to be this incoming, czar on, hate speech, like, oh, well, you believe the Bible? You mean that part that says that the Jews delivered up Jesus? Well, that's hate speech. You're causing hatred toward a certain ethnic group. Well, we're going to have to give you a demerit on that one. If you don't stop doing that and stop preaching that particular passage or saying anything about that, it's going to get worse for you. You're going to get a red mark. Or then we're going to solder you in, weld you into your home, and you're going to starve to death in there. And that's probably what happened to a lot of those people in China. They starved to death inside their homes. They couldn't get out. It's terrible. Elon, how are we supposed to trust you with defense contracts when you publicly threaten millions of Americans? This is way scary, dude. You have too much power to behave in demon mode with us. See? Demon mode. Demon mode. Demon mode. You have way too much power to behave in a demon mode with us. It's terrifying. You can space laser us or something. Yikes. Exactly. He's got the ability to have all those space weapons. He's working with, and by the way, the whole, what do they call it? The internet. What do they call that internet that he has? Oh, not SpaceX. Starlink. That's all government stuff. That's all government stuff. It always has been government stuff. They just used him as a front man. He's a disarming character. It was just to make it look like it was a civilian program, but it was ultimately going to be used for military purposes, and it was intended to be built and funded by government, and he was just the guy that was managing it. He didn't do all that. All this money that he's doing with all this stuff, Tesla, the car company, the space stuff, and the internet. It's not. That's all been channeled through for him for a reason. The government military took over Starlink. You know that he gave it up back. He gave it to the government. You know that, right? I don't even think he owns it, or if he did, it was just on paper or something. I don't know. See, people are lambasting him here. Hmm. It's an absolute disaster. Look at this. So H1-B is an absolute disaster, and it shows people making $40,000 in Key West as a cook. Um, Highgates Hotel, cook three, cook three. I don't know what that means. How is it a disaster? I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to say here. Someone says, "I beg you to go to bed. Keep in mind that we've been replaced for 4 years by illegals. So now even legal immigration is touchy for us. Please try to understand where we're coming from. Then come back and have this conversation with us." Very true. I don't know why he got all upset. Why is he all so upset to the point where he's saying what he's saying? It's just absolutely crazy for someone of his stature or his influence to be making these types of threats. Yeah, somebody says, "I think that what you said violates the guidelines somewhere. Seriously, this does not sound either friendly or supportive. It sounds hostile and threatening. Praying we get past it and do what is best for American people who have just gone through 5 years of hell." Absolutely. This is why Elon is getting, taken to the cleaners on this. Is he going to turn more into a demon mode because people are attacking him now? Is he going to get more demon mode, amped up demon mode, and start saying more things? I'm going to be expecting, if his mindset is that touchy, that he's going to probably do this even more now. I don't ever want another post telling me my language is unacceptable on here. Never. Oh, wow. Anyways, there you go. Lots of chaos going on here. Let me see what else I got going on here. Here's all the accounts that got suspended, if you want to see. Let's see here. What the heck happened here? Oh, I see. Okay, let's try this again. So you've got accounts like this being deleted, and these guys had lots of subscribers, by the way.
I think this is incredibly bullish for digital asset.
All right. So, anyways, let's see what else we got here. I got some more information here. Uh, Russia's Putin has officially withdrawn Russia from the multilateral nuclear and environmental agreement. So they're preparing for nuclear tests, I guess, and getting ready to do something new. Pfizer's former vice president, Michael Yeading, says that the devil juice injections were deliberately engineered to harm, disable, and kill, with the ultimate goal of reducing human fertility. And that is a former vice president. Trump supports immigration visas backed by Musk. I have many H-1B visas on my properties. Trump's Saturday comments come a day after Musk vowed to go to war on the issue. Let's look at that. Huh. So Bryant Park Christmas Village burned down in New York City on Friday. Okay. Did you see that? Are you reading this post? Trump isn't capable of reform. He's the guy who finally shows America, and he finally shows people that America cannot be reformed without blood. No, bro. Doge isn't about to save America from bankruptcy. Matt Gaetz isn't going to purge the DOJ. Trump won't win against the entrenched political class in the Senate. Trump is the guy who will deliver unto you bankruptcy and hyperinflation. That's his historical mission. Who wrote this? Okay. Oh, Nick Fuentes said this. Oh, okay. Nick Fuentes, I think, might have been banned too, or his account was severely limited. This is why I think that he's one of the leaders of the Groypers, and all those channels. A lot of those channels were from the Groypers. Remember, I went on his network a while back. Some of you guys might have been following me when I did that. This guy's Nick Fuentes. This is the one that is causing all the chaos on Twitter right now. Okay, so let's look at this. On December 22nd, Trump appointed Sriram Krishnan as a senior advisor on artificial intelligence. He is a naturalized citizen who initially came to the United States from India on a work visa that he obtained through Microsoft. Previously, Krishnan worked as a general partner at the venture capital firm Anderson Horowitz and served as its ambassador to Twitter after Musk's acquisition, which was partially financed by Mark Anderson. Krishnan is the latest Trump appointee drawn from a group of Silicon Valley venture capitalists who call themselves Little Tech, mostly in the orbit of Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. This appointment drew widespread criticism from pro-Trump influencers over previous statements by Krishnan in support of increasing the cap on green cards. Increasing the cap on green cards. The Little Tech, this is why they're getting pissed off right now, because the base is finally figuring out that they're not really going to curb a lot of this corruption in immigration. Okay, so it says the Little Tech or Little Bro faction, including Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Swami, David Sachs, and Sean McGuire, rallied to Krishnan's defense on X, voicing support for high-skilled legal immigration and accusing his detractors of being motivated by racism. Yesterday and today, the brand accounts at Conservative Oggs and Project Groip were stripped of their verification and features. Subsequently, their affiliate accounts lost their verification and features like increased character limit. Earlier today, many of the affiliate accounts under the brand Project Groip, including Dalton Codfelter, Tyler Russell, Ray, Classic Groip, Kaiser Rev, okay, these are all accounts that are associated, were permanently suspended. At the same time that the suspensions occurred, Elon posted that reply spammers were being nuked as he composed the post. Okay. Project Groip received an email from X saying that the account was unverified for engaging in platform manipulation. Wow. Earlier today, Elon posted that being an H-1B migrant himself, he would go to war against anyone who opposes the H-1B program. This is an extremely disturbing and unfortunate development. Trump is going to walk out of this period of American history hated and vilified by everyone, but particularly his own side. That's his historic role in this political collapse. The people who claimed this election was some sort of beginning of the reform revolution or whatever just had their entire timeline of revolution twisted. Trump isn't capable of reform. He's the guy who finally shows people that America cannot be reformed without blood. No, bro, Doge isn't about to save America from bankruptcy. Matt Gaetz isn't going to purge the DOJ. Trump won't win against the entrenched political class in the Senate. Trump is the guy who will deliver unto you bankruptcy and hyperinflation. That's his historical mission. It's going to be Trump that teaches you to stop worrying and embrace the collapse of the empire. It will be Trump that shows you that actually economic depression and hyperinflation is just another Tuesday. Once you get used to it, he's the most qualified guy alive for that role. He's the most qualified guy for that role. Exactly. That's why they're pushing the crypto center of crypto world here in America, that he's going to be the Bitcoin president, because they're telegraphing to you that the dollar is dead. Okay, the dollar is going to die. Is this a black pill? I mean, maybe if you hope that that you wouldn't have to go through with your societal root canal. You wouldn't have to go through with your societal root canal. It is the blackest of all black pills that Trump is the dentist who will drill that rotten tooth and without anesthesia. But hey, it's a necessary process. Oh my goodness. Trump shares Christmas message, go to hell. You got to be kidding me. Let me see.
Today, President Joe Biden is talking.
Let's look at this. Hold on one second here. It's got to fit on the screen here. Okay, here we go. Okay, oops. There we go.
Tossing out death sentences for dozens of death row inmates in federal prisons across the country. Our chief legal correspondent, Katie Barlow, has.
Okay, so that's just something else. So sorry about that. Okay, so President-elect Trump shared a Christmas message with 37 prisoners whose death row sentences were recently commuted by President Biden to go to hell and more. What? So Trump wished a Merry Christmas to radical left lunatics, told the 37 prisoners whose death row sentences were recently commuted by President Biden to go to hell. He said also to the 37 most violent criminals who killed, raped, plundered like virtually no one before them, but were just given incredibly a pardon by Sleepy Joe Biden. I refuse to wish a Merry Christmas to those lucky souls, but instead we'll say go to hell. We had the greatest election in the history of our country. A bright light is now shining over the USA. And in 26 days, we will make America great again. Merry Christmas, he added. Trump went on to say Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago. Wow. Also making certain that the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. What? So is China taking over the Panama Canal? Oh my gosh, that means we're going to go to war with China when he gets in. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, man. All right, so let's see what else we got here. They're continuing to purge accounts. Some people will say, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. This is what Trump said. These are foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. Yet people still voted for this dude. His base grew. Some even believe Trump to be the reincarnation or second coming of Christ. And still, they continue to defend and make excuses for this profit. Okay, so let's take a look at this statement here.
We have kids that are watching the internet, and they want to be masterminds. And then you wonder, why do we lose all these kids? They go over there, they're young, they're impressionable. They go over, they want to join ISIS. We're losing a lot of people because of the internet. And we have to do something. We have to go see Bill Gates and a lot of different people that really understand what's happening. We have to talk to them, maybe in certain areas, closing that internet up in some way. Somebody will say, oh, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. These are foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. We have a lot of foolish people. We've got to maybe do something with the internet because they are recruiting by the thousands.
You talk freedom of speech, you talk freedom of anything you want. I don't want them using our internet to take our young, impressionable youth. And then on second, we should be able to penetrate the internet and find out exactly where ISIS is and everything about ISIS. And we can do that if we use our good people.
Are you open to closing parts of the internet?
I would certainly be open to closing areas where we are at war with somebody. I sure as hell don't want to let people that want to kill us and kill our nation use our internet. Yes, sir, I am.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds noble, like a noble cause, but how far are you going to take it? And what excuse can you make to limit any dissent that might be deemed terrorist activity? You know, your left wing can become a terrorist. Your opposition party can become a terrorist. Anybody can become a terrorist, right? I'm not saying that ISIS isn't a terrorist group or whatever. I think that we actually helped create ISIS. The United States did this with through Al Qaeda. For those who don't know the history of Al Qaeda, the United States, you know, our Pentagon or in our CIA, I think, they funded Al Qaeda. They funded Osama bin Laden. He was on the CIA payroll, and they trained them to fight the Russians. And they created this huge rebellion in Afghanistan during the occupation of Russia, and then it morphed into ISIS. Trump also said, let's take the guns away and then do due process. How many of you guys remember him saying that? Does anybody remember him saying that? Take the guns and then we'll have due process later. How many of you guys remember that? Let's see if we can bring that one up.
Go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor. Okay, Trump, take guns, due process.
Yes, go ahead.
So here's Trump talking about taking away the guns. And yeah, just take away guns. He's got Democrats sitting there next to him. He's got that one lady what was her name? Feinstein, California liberal Feinstein. Listen to what he says here. All you Second Amendment advocates.
Mike.
Well, in the category, you've spoken about it, Mr. President, gun violence restraining orders. They're called. California actually has a version of this. And I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps. But the focus is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others. Allow due process so that no one's rights are trampled, but the ability to go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
Or
of that
might
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
I thought due process was to be done before you take away someone's rights. Isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Due process, then take away their rights? if they violate laws and are a danger to society. And that can be fast-tracked. I mean, that can be fast-tracked. Obviously, if somebody is deemed unstable and dangerous, yeah, you can go in there and get a warrant and go take away the guns or take away the guy if the guy's a danger. But the way it's being said here, it almost seems like they're making it a wide open kind of thing where, oh, well, we're changing everything, but it is still due process, but it's just not in the beginning. The due process is later on down the road after we've put you in jail, taken your guns, and then we'll do due process and then find out if you're proven innocent. Yeah, maybe you are innocent, but we don't know yet. So we have to just try to test it first. We'll put you in jail, take away your guns, whatever, and so many Americans are so, touchy on this topic, especially with guns, that you have to be thinking about that, because that could be an excuse for doing other things, not just guns. That could be an excuse and an open door for something else. I'm just saying, that's kind of like that whole idea of false flag. They do something and make it, And by the way, one of the weirdest things that ever happened in terms of shootings happened under Trump. You remember that big shooting that took place in Vegas? We never really did find out what happened there. You know that, right? We never really found out what really went on there. I don't even think they released any of the video footage that we know they have. They have all that, every square inch of a casino, and especially even in the rooms in the hotel areas are all under surveillance. There is not any way that any of that wasn't on camera. I still don't understand why we've never seen any footage. Right? Where is all the footage? The public was never given any information on what actually happened during that terrible event. You know that, right? Anyways, I'll be just going on and on and on. So I better cut this short. I'm sure they're going to demonetize and take down this video because I said some no-no things. I wonder if they have a lot of influence over YouTube right now too. But anyways. All right. God bless all you out there. Cynthia, Trish, Kayapo, Cheyenne, Sister in Christ, Elizabeth. Who else is in here? Brass Monkey. Barter King. And by the way, X is also a symbol of, it's an occult symbol too, and it has a lot of significance, a lot of meaning. You should look into it. In the meantime, guys, we'll be breaking down the news as it happens, fast and furious, giving you our insights and, letting you guys have a place where you can discuss and chat amongst yourselves. At certain points, there's so many things that are unfolding that you got to pool that information in one place. And we try to bring in all the different feeds and information here to bear on in one place in real time. So get connected to all of our instant notification outlets, whether it's Telegram, Locals is a great way to get connected, or Patreon. You can become a free member on Patreon if you want. Also, it does help to support as well because you get extra stuff there that we always put out. And we'll be doing a new meeting here pretty soon, a Zoom chat with all the patrons. If you want to be a part of that, we go through different topics and discuss things that are happening, kind of like a little think tank. So get connected there. Telegram, important to get connected. Telegram here on YouTube, enable the instant notification. Make sure it's on all notifications. You can do the same on Telegram where you get the little message from us. You're going to hear a little beep anytime we post. It will let you know when we go live and the links to get there. So make sure you guys are connected. Don't miss out because things are still on the edge. And I think we're on the brink of seeing some big things go down. So in the meantime, God bless. Have a great afternoon and evening. And